Okay, good morning in New York and good afternoon in Beirut. Thank you all for being here and there. I'm Rami Khouri. I'm happy to welcome everybody to this briefing, New York Beirut AUB briefing. And we're very excited today to be discussing a topic that obviously has a lot of interest, as we can see from the attendance in Beirut and the wide range of visitors here. The issue we're talking about is how communities and universities learn from each other. The issue of engaging students and faculty in universities, engaging communities, all kinds of communities, urban, rural, refugee, whatever, in Newark, New Jersey, where Rutgers University is, and with whom we're partnering, or in Beirut and parts of Lebanon, where AUB's Center for Community Outreach and Civic Engagement is also very active. And we will have this event today for an hour and a half. And then tomorrow we're going to follow it up with a similar event, but with a wider panel at Rutgers University, where we will have community organizers and mobilizers and activists, as well as students and faculty. And the totality of these two events will be captured after the fact on tape and text and shared with the world. So I'm very happy to welcome everybody, and we will get going right away with our speakers. The first one is Rabih Shibli, who's the director of the Center for Civic Engagement and Community Service at AUB, and a pioneer in outreach and engagement and in the communities around Lebanon, which he'll tell us about. Then we'll have Professor Jill Josephson, who's a political science and women and gender studies professor and chair of the political science department at Rutgers, Newark, and again has been a pioneer in community engagement work. And then we will have Nermin Allam, who's an assistant professor of politics at Rutgers, Newark, and she's involved in Middle East issues, which also include student engagement and participation in development issues. And in Beirut, we have a nice group of participants anchored by Professor Malik Tabbal, who's director of the newly established Leadership, Equity, and Diversity Initiative at AUB, and oversees a lot of the scholarship programs, while he's also a professor of physics. So thank you, everybody, and let us get started with Rabih Shibli. Tafadhal, Rabih.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. I will limit my talk to 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, like Rami suggested. There are 3 points I will discuss in my talk. First, a background about how the Center of Civic Engagement has been established. The second point is on transformative education through service learning. And the third is on community development projects. So basically, following the 2006 July War, or the Second Lebanon War, it created remarkable momentum to volunteer for relief among students and faculty members, and founded a calling to a university-wide task force for reconstruction. The main aim for that task force was to engage with external donors and local stakeholders and community partners in order to think and brainstorm of a rational reconstruction process as a way to avoid the pitfalls of past practices, because Lebanon have went through a lot of wars and civil wars, and following every small or big battle there was a reconstruction process which has always been led to failure. And one of the main reasons was because there was always lack or diminishing there wasn't any process put in place to engage in a participatory process, listening to the voices of the traumatized or the most affected. So that was the main lack, and that was the aim of this task force. The teams divided into two groups. A group worked in South Lebanon, another group worked in the southern suburb of Beirut. These were the two regions mostly affected by the war, but soon after, almost a year after, there was another war and another crisis in North Lebanon, in a smaller geographic area, but it was also there was severe damages in the Palestinian refugee camp of NY-Beirut. So the task force was faced with another challenge, and they had to extend the relief efforts and the discussions. So following 2 years of decentralized and sporadic efforts, the team met again, and there was a necessity to institutionalize it within the Center for Civic Engagement and Community Service, and to promulgate this concept within AUB's strategic plan and its mission. So we were established in 2008, and we developed an operational framework that allows us to effectively respond to the exacerbating local needs on one end, and to be strategic in the way of also allowing this concept of impactful engagement to go within universities, faculties, and departments. So we had one concern on the community side and another concern on the academic side. The mission, in summary, the main mission or the mandate of the center is to connect AUB community with external partners, stakeholders, community partners, and the specificity of our work is that it is all within what we call the marginalized landscapes. So our aim is to enhance the capacities of the community that we're working with, and at the same time allow for provide opportunities for leadership development and transformative education to our students. So that's in general the aim, and so this operation framework lies within two main tenets that I'll briefly discuss. The first one is transformative education through civic engagement, and the other one is the community development projects. Transformative education, this is where the center mentors students to learn in unstructured environments. This is where they learn how to untangle the complexities of informalities and to analyze the dynamics that govern what we call the organized chaos. So they gain better understanding of the needs facing the society, the community that we're working with, and they also gain the skills and the tools that are necessary for them to be able to enact positive and impactful change in very challenging situations. So under this, this formed like the guiding principles of community engaged learning courses and the leadership development programs. So as a pedagogical approach, the community engaged learning courses, it's meant to enhance students' learning through civic engagement, through active citizenship. And here the center liaisons between the faculty, a faculty member, and the community partner. So together we sit down and brainstorm to develop the course. And the course needs to abide, again, by three main criteria. First one is the social impact. So what is the issue, what is the theme that is relevant to the community that we're working with, and also how does it, what's its relevance to the professor, the research interest, and the learning outcomes of the students. So that's the first component. The second one is how do we ensure reciprocity? So how do we ensure a balanced distribution of knowledge? So our students do gain a lot of information from the expertise of the local communities, but in return, what is it in for the communities? So how would they benefit from the research so our communities are not part of an experimentational effort? And that's also very, very sensitive. The third one is the fieldwork. So students will know when they register for the course that there is a certain percentage academically relevant fieldwork. And they would know that part of the course will be based outside the classroom, in the unstructured world. So is it 40%, 60%, 50%? So all of this also we decide and determine with the faculty member and the community partner before the course is listed as a community engaged learning course. So these are the three main criteria. And I'll just quote one of the courses that we have been developing and working with for the past 5 years. It's Children and War. So in the syllabus, The professor says it focuses on child development in the context of large-scale human conflict. The course reviewed the children's development during all stages of work. Alongside quizzes, exams, essays, and documentary films, the course requires students to apply the knowledge they acquired by planning, proposing, and developing action plans that address the plight of these children and suggest effective assistance within the refugee community. So that's a section of a syllabus, how it looks like, and there are various courses across the departments of the university that follow the same approach. The second component is the leadership development program. And here I will specifically talk about leadership development program for scholarship students, because we do offer this program for all of AB students on a voluntary base. But for scholarship students, it is part of the requirements. And AB currently has 4 big programs, which Dr. Tabbal is leading on. The first one is the USP program, the second is the MasterCard, the third is the MEPI, and the fourth one is Al Ghurair. The uniqueness of this program is that in addition to the academic performance of the students, they have to fulfill leadership requirement in civic engagement. So how does that work? So the center guides the scholars through sequenced journey, which begins with extensive volunteering that leads to internship with community partners and culminate in a community service project. During this journey, also we design workshops that are tailored to assist students achieve each of these milestones successfully. I personally find that the transformational aspect happens, you can fully feel it in the community service project component. Because here, it's not just about the research. Every student, I'll talk about the USP student, they receive between $2,000 to $3,000 per student. This money is earmarked for the implementation. So it doesn't just stop at the research phase. So the students will learn how to do it from A to Z. And it happens, they work in teams, and we work with them basically to do 3 key aspects. How to choose a relevant theme, what does it mean? And the second one, how to identify a problematic, which is the core underlying all other challenges, and how to design a strategic intervention. And what does a strategic intervention mean? So they gather, and after they do their desk research, they go down to the field, do the needs assessment, they have to work with a credible and vetted community partner together, decide on the intervention, build the proposal with all its requirements, and go through the business of procurement and purchasing, and go down there to implement the work. Just to add a side note, to ensure, because we face some challenges here, to ensure that the students do gain the learning requirements, and it's not just simply a transfer of commodities. We've even divided the workload, like 30% for equipment, 30% for direct engagement, and 30% for training. So we even go into these details to ensure that students fully benefit from this experience. Every year we have 20 projects being implemented, and 20 projects in the pipeline. And again, the themes are diverse, and the projects are diverse. It could be from women empowerment, waste management, child protection, mental health, education for marginalized and refugees. So we have a lot of themes and projects, very interesting ones. So this is on the first component of the transformative education. How much time do I have?
About 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, so I'll briefly then discuss the second point, which is the community development projects. For me, it's the other also point gives the center its uniqueness and essence in the region, because this is where the center identifies the issues and challenges for research that lead to development. We set the roadmap and the vision, connect with AV partners and external partners to do high impact interventions, which are multi-year projects. So we have projects across the country, and I will just briefly mention our latest project, which has been focused on the Syria relief crisis. I think you know that our region is facing the largest humanitarian crisis, refugee crisis, since the Second World War. Half of the Syrian population is either internally displaced or have sought refuge in surrounding countries. Out of the 5 million registered with UNHCR in the neighboring countries, Lebanon bears the highest per capita worldwide. So Lebanon is a population of 4 million. We have 1.1 almost registered with UNHCR Syrian refugees, in addition to 300 to maybe 700,000 unregistered, and the unregistered numbers are not very clear. But if we just look at the unregistered, which is 1.1 million, you have 54% school age. And please just highlight that number because this will lead to our intervention. So in 2012, the numbers, the crisis in Syria started in May 2011. In 2012, the numbers were maybe 80,000, 100,000, but the discussion in Lebanon, like people were shunning to even look into this because it goes back to a lot of anxieties related to refugees. But then in 2007, we had a severe blizzard and 5 children froze to death. Sorry. Take it down. So we led a donation drive. It always happens. And we started getting a donation from a big community, from external communities, and students went out there and they worked directly with the affected communities, with the refugees. In 2013, we were still working, and they were facing very appalling conditions. And this is where you realize how does it look like when you don't have a strategic national response plan. Because when you listen to the news or read the research, it doesn't give you the feeling as when you go out there to the field and see that you have thousands and thousands of kids not going to schools. So we designed a unit, a classroom unit, we called it Ghata, which is basically a portable structure. Ghata means cover, the English word of cover. And we designed it, and during a summer camp in 2013, the students went out there to one of the informal tented settlements and assembled the first unit. It was very successful. It was successful because it's built from locally found material, it's easily assembled and disassembled, it's low cost compared to the tents. When the students assembled it, they gathered the $1,200 through a bake sale in front of Westhold. That's how we built our first model. It has a duration between 10 to 15 years. It could be built by 2 refugees in 6 working hours, deassembled in 3 hours to be reassembled again in any other place. So it was really a big success. Then when we opened up the first classroom, we were overwhelmed with the number of children who just wanted to come to the classroom. We were really shocked. So we assembled the second classroom and the third one. But then every time we had to take a visitor because we needed financial support, we had to drive 2 hours back and 2 hours back and forth. So we decided to assemble a unit on AUB campus, and it was a big success. We had a visit from the Ministry of Social Affairs back then. He gave us the okay to use it as a classroom unit. Make a long story short to end in 3 minutes. We partnered with the local NGO, Kayani, and we assembled the first school in Bekaa. So we went from one classroom into a school. And now this project has been very, very successful and rewarding. There are 10 Ghata schools in Bekaa. 3 of these schools are fully under AUB's mandate in partnership with our local partners. In these programs, every school has between 700 to 900 students. So we started with primary education, we have secondary education, vocational training, university preparatory programs. And during severe weather storms, the campus, the portable campus becomes a community shelter. And So it's not just a school. And I know like many of the faces I'm seeing here and the students are part of the programs. So AB professors develop the material and the curriculum, they train the local teacher because the majority, more than 85% of the teachers are from the refugee community. The students are from the refugee community. And part of, when we started the research, of why this very high percentage of out of school children, what UNICEF called the lost generation, is that because we have prejudice, security threats, maybe child labor, and also very important is the inadequate built environment. So we designed a project for them in order, basically we are providing quality education, which quality education and in a setup that you are building the resources, and for the whole infrastructure, the built infrastructure and the human resources will be deassembled and reassembled back in Syria and the day after. And just to end here, I think we have, AB has a very important and strategic role to play with the refugee crisis now in Lebanon, and we are doing a lot, but also we have to think for the day after in Syria.
Thank you. Rabih, in 1 minute that you have left, what is the single most surprising and satisfying thing that you have discovered since you started this kind of large-scale, continuous community engagement with your students?
The students themselves, like the transformational aspect of the students. Like I'll just give you an example. Some students will, when we open up, in one instance we had a community project. So in the same team, they decided to work on the refugee crisis, and we had two very different opinions regarding refugees. One extremely sympathizing, another opinion fully against. When they work together and work with the communities and go down, they find a lot of common issues to work on together and the same perspective, and it's definitely a life-changing experience. Like the only way to change a region which is undergoing this kind of crisis and tension is in the human resources. The human resources, the way they perceive and look into the situation, how are they able to impact and enact this positive change? How do they gain these skills? And again, most of them are choosing careers basically to change this mess.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jill Josephson from Rutgers, Newark. Jill, let's hear your experiences and your thoughts on this important issue.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. And I think there are a lot of resonances that we can talk about as we discuss. So at Rutgers University Newark, about 5 years ago, the university was restructured and we had new leadership at the Rutgers University Newark campus. And our new chancellor was especially emphasizing the way that we need to have mutual relationships with the community that we're a part of. And so, I mean, the slogan version of this is, we're not just in Newark, but of Newark. And so to think differently about how the university relates to the community. And especially to think about another sort of slogan, but it's useful to think about this work, is the outside-in university. So we often think of, universities, and historically universities have had relationships with communities like Newark as sort of being the experts who come in and, do field work and then leave again, and it doesn't benefit the community at all. And so there are many ways in which the relationship between the university and the community has not been beneficial to the community. And also, historically, Rutgers University Newark, it's surprising, but did not serve that many students from Newark. Proportionally, more students were from the larger North Jersey region than were from the city of Newark. And so part of what we've been trying to do over the last 5 years is to change that relationship to have a better, more healthy, and more beneficial relationship to the community. So part of that is changing the curriculum. There are many parts of the university that need to be changed for all of those things to happen. But part of that is changing the curriculum. Historically, in the United States, there was a movement in the 1980s and 1990s for service learning, right, for students to do sort of have hands-on experiences. But again, many of the ways that those were structured were, let's go out and, do a little volunteer work, and then, write a paper about it and not necessarily benefit the community, especially with, for example, student internships. Maybe the student spends half the semester getting trained with a nonprofit that has limited resources, and then the nonprofit, it doesn't really benefit them that much because the student is not around for very long. So all of these critiques, these structural problems lead to thinking differently about how to do civic engagement education. Also, another aspect of this that folks who teach political science in particular have critiqued is that service learning and volunteer work is often not about politics, right? And so we're not necessarily teaching students about how to be engaged citizens or how to be engaged in their communities and in the political life of their communities if they're doing volunteer work that doesn't really change anything about how things work in the local community. So all of those lead to the kind of experiment that we're doing now with our curriculum in the political science department. There are several courses that we're trying to transform. And the way that we're doing it is to think about the curriculum as something, as the heart of the university and the heart of what we're doing, and to build courses that have civic engagement as a key component by partnering with community organizations. And we partner in similar ways that, as you've been talking about, but the idea is to build it into the curriculum so it's part of our course requirements. It's maybe their key electives that students take in the political science major or minor. And we have an ongoing relationship with the organization. And the organization plays a key role in designing the tasks that the students do as part of the course requirements. So it's supposed to both enhance student learning and enhance the work of the organization. So I'll talk for just a little bit about my class, which is a community organizing class, and then about some of the other courses in political science, and then Nermin is going to also speak about her course that she's teaching this semester. So the course that I have developed, and this is, I feel like it's only by like the third time that you teach a course, maybe you really know what you're doing. So, the first time you're kind of experimenting. This is the third time that I'm teaching this community organizing course, and I'm working with a community organization. The organization is not in Newark, it's in Jersey City, and it's called Jersey City Together. And it's an organization that tries to build local political power so that ordinary people can make their communities better, basically. And so the community organization has worked on issues like affordable housing, which is a problem in many cities in the United States. It's worked on issues of public education, and it's worked on issues of public safety. Those issues came out of talking to people in the community and listening to what their concerns were. The course is called Democracy and Citizenship. And it's a political theory course. So we're doing a lot of hands-on projects, but we're also reading about what it means to be engaged in civic engagement in this kind of way. The course involves leaders from the organization coming to speak to the class. It involves the organizer coming and leading an exercise early on. And then just last week, for the first time, my students went out and did door knocking. So we're trying to help organize tenants around affordable housing, and the students during class time, we took the train and we went to a couple of apartment buildings near the transit center, and we door knocked and talked to tenants. Some folks didn't want to talk to us, others did. And the students, we had a really interesting discussion then on Monday about what it meant to be out there in the community. And students will also reflect and write. They're required to attend events organized by the organization, and we'll do a few more of those hands-on projects where the students are actually contributing to the work of the organization. So that's the idea of the class, is that it's an ongoing relationship with an organization, and both the organization and the students learn from each other and develop relationships. we've got about 6 courses now in the political science department where we're doing this kind of work. We'll talk about them a little bit more at tomorrow's event as well, but some of them involve working with an organization called Make the Road New Jersey, which is an immigrant rights organization. And that work has happened in 2 different courses, a public policy analysis course and a human rights class. And students, many of our students are bilingual, and so they have served as translators for some events for these organizations and done other kind of work. So there are many ways in which students can learn from the work of a community organization and also do work that benefits the organization itself. In terms of lessons and challenges, I would say one of the key factors is university support. You spoke a little bit about the community development projects that students design. There's monetary support so that they can actually implement the project. That kind of support is key to implementing some of these projects. For example, my student, we had to take the train, right, to get to where we were going. So, I have a small grant that covers the cost of the train fare, so that students didn't have that out-of-pocket expense, which, for many students would be very problematic. Even $6 is a problem, right? So those kinds of logistical supports are very key. It's also important that there's a lot of planning involved in the process, to make sure that your student learning goals as well as the organization's goals are being met. And so faculty, it takes a commitment for faculty to develop these courses. And that's why the logistical support is important, but it's also very important that the university as a whole support the work. Because if there's not support on the part of the leadership of the university for this kind of work, I think it's very difficult to do. I think one of the key benefits is that we're kind of rebuilding community relationships in a way that I hope has benefits beyond just what happens within the particular classes. Because my students are getting to know people in the community. Several of my students now who've graduated have gone on to work in different kind of organizations that are related to this work. So they've built relationships with people that then have led to choices about their careers as well. So I think there are many, many benefits to this kind of work, but it takes logistical support and it takes planning. And I'm going to stop there so we can have more time for discussion.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Nermin. I'm sorry, and we're coming to you next in Beirut, so hang in there, and we're gonna be looking forward to hearing, especially from the students after Malik makes a few comments. Thank you for all being there, and we're coming to you next. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Rabih Shibli, and thank you, Evie, for organizing such a creative panel. I will try to take a stab trying to answer the question of this panel, the question of what do we learn when university and community partner. And my short answer to this question is that we learn a lot. And my more detailed answer is that we learn and evolve as an instructor. We learn more about our students, and our students learn through being part of the realities surrounding them. And as Jim was saying, we rebuild our community relations. Before I delve into each of these learning moments and trajectories that come out of partnering with a community organization, I have a let the buyer be aware disclaimer. I am a newcomer to the community engagement course. I recently started designing a course and using the different approaches and tools available to engagement and community service learning into our curriculum. and into the students' learning experiences. So that is to say that today I'll be sharing with you my preliminary observations and my preliminary lessons learned through designing the course and executing parts of the course. So when universities and communities partner, we learn, develop, and evolve as instructors. As the instructor, I quickly learned that my role is to learn to be a facilitator of knowledge rather than a controller of knowledge. That is, my role is to guide and assist students in learning for themselves, to assist students in picking apart ideas, forming their own thoughts about these ideas, and owning materials through self-exploration and dialogue. We learn as instructors that the most powerful learning experience does not come from telling students what to think, what to read, and what to write about. The most powerful learning experience comes from learning how to think about these issues for yourself. It comes when students take part in the realities that they are studying and immerse themselves in it. And that is exceptionally powerful in our course. So the course that I'm teaching, students learn about gender politics and women's activism in the Middle East and North African societies. That is, when students learn about the other, about other groups, other cultures, and other understandings of activism, agency, and gender. Groups that are more often subject to prejudice, misconceptions, and misrepresentations in the media, and also in research. When universities and communities partner, we learn more about our students. The process of designing and executing a community engagement course involves continuously going back and forth between the course, the overarching objective of the course, and the students, their own experiences, their own prejudice, their biases, and the knowledge that they bring with them into the course. This process of moving back and forth often, or actually always, involves exploring new ideas, exploring new questions, ideas and questions that speaks to the students' own experiences, and challenge, although not necessarily change, their attitudes, assumptions, and privileges, prejudice, and stereotypes. And these attitudes, beliefs, assumptions, privileges, and stereotypes, these are often all too common when we learn about different culture. When universities and communities partner, students learn through experience. So again, in my class, we study gender and politics in the Middle East. We examine the different images, the misconceptions, and the misrepresentations surrounding the image of the Middle Eastern woman. We problematize and challenge images such as the passive Middle Eastern woman that is the victim of her own society. We examine and problematize images such as the dangerous Middle Eastern woman that resents everything and anything Western or related to the West. These stereotypes inundate our everyday media production and consumption. It inundates our policies. It is all too common and prevalent in the political discourse and the popular discourse surrounding these groups. The question thus becomes, how do you tell students a different story than the one that is fed to them through the media and through the public discourse? You can talk to them and teach them about the amazing women in the history and in the modern politics and the present of the Middle East and Islamic societies. But when you partner with a community engagement organization and work along with amazing women from Middle Eastern, North African communities, you are able to go beyond that. It gives the students the opportunity to interact with these women who carry out outstanding work in the community and beyond. Students are directly in touch with the realities that they are studying and experience these realities that are being studied. Students get to not only hear about and talk about these realities, but also they become part of it. They come into contact with these realities and with this group as part of their learning process. And by coming in contact with these realities, students overcome the biases inherent in their understanding of other cultures and other groups, and particularly the biases and stereotypes surrounding the image of the Muslim women in the West. Many people are now familiar with concepts and stereotypes such as the Islamic terrorism, the oppressed Muslim women, jihad in the West, forced marriages, honor killings, women's forced into marriages. However, can they distinguish the reality and the fiction? Through their community engagement with our partner organization, students work along with strong female leaders in the community, female leaders who advocate for wider resources to help women from diverse backgrounds, not only Middle Eastern backgrounds, within and beyond the Middle East and Islamic communities. Students also work along with these outstanding women to design and implement cultural sensitivity training workshops. And through these workshops, students identify and tackle and refute some of the popular misconceptions and stereotypes that surrounds the image of the Muslim women, and share their findings with the wider audience. Students deliver these workshops and awareness campaigns to service agencies, educational institutions, and even one of the workshops would be delivered to the police. And this engagement facilitates, clarifies the misunderstandings and the misconceptions about women in the region. Vivid experiences, encounters, and interactions weight more than reading about them. The experiences of others. Through the students' interaction with these groups and organizations, students develop an attitude and appetite to challenge, if not change, some of the misconceptions about them. Rather than I've read about it or I've heard about women's agency and activism in the Middle East, through partnering with Middle Eastern community engagements, it gives students the opportunity to say that I saw that. I saw the different forms of engagement and activism. You give them an opportunity to reflect on their own experience in order to draw out the meaning in it, and to use this meaning as a guide in future experiences. Everything begins and ends in the continuous influx of experience. Experience is all what matters. Partnering with communities offers valuable opportunities to educators and students to experience knowledge, to learn from our subjects, not just to learn about them. I can go on and on talking about how this change in pedagogy is important in studying other groups, how it's important for our epistemological groundings, and how that reformulates the relation in our research and in our education. But suffice to say that it's only when we learn from our subjects that we can have valuable and close to complete story about their experiences, and that we can give back to the community. So to conclude, when we partner with community, we evolve and develop as educators, and we better situate the experience and the expectations of our students within our course pedagogy. Through community-based learning, we capture the vividness and emotion of experiencing knowledge and facilitate critical reflection, and only then can our students extract the correct lessons, and only then can we build close ties with the communities that we are supposed to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Nermin. We will go to Beirut now. Thank you for being patient over there. And Malik Tabbal, if you could make your comments, reactions to what you've heard, and particularly any additional points you'd like to make about your own experiences at AUB, and then we'd like to hear from some of your students as well.
Thank you very much for the intervention. We're very thrilled to be here, and I'm surrounded by the students who are really the heroes of AUB's engagement with the community and with outreach activities. It is essential that students are involved in these activities. As Rabih said, he gave a very complete view of student engagement at AUB since over the last, I would say, maybe 10 years. And currently, it is not just with the scholarship students. We know we currently have about 500 scholarship students on campus. The number is growing. We're getting additional grants and awards to bring in more scholarship students with these scholarships that are not purely academic, but they are scholarships in which civic engagement and leadership activities play a fundamental role in the training of the students. And it is a very legitimate question to ask, who has learned most from this? Is it the student or is it us? It's really, let's say, a win-win situation. And because we're actually running short of time, I'm going to ask the students to intervene, because it is them that we would like to hear. It is from them that we would like to hear today. So I'm going to turn to the students. Vast majority of students coming here from scholarship programs, but we also have students who are regular AUB students, and all of them are very engaged with the community and with leadership activities. So I'm going to ask for students to share with us some of their experience and some of their challenges being an AUB students and heavily engaged in with the community. So I'm going to leave the floor for the students. Yes, please go ahead. I'll ask you to introduce yourself, and then...
I don't know if they can hear me.
Yes. Good. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much for this panel discussion and for the amazing interventions by all of your excellencies. I'm Layana Abdani. I'm a PSA student. I'm Syrian, and this is my last semester at AUB. Mr. Rabih, I'm very thankful to your deep appreciation and your deep commitment to the Syrian refugee situation here in Lebanon. It's much appreciated with all the work you're doing and the efforts you've done to make the Ghata project successful, and still a very successful one. And I want to give my testimony about this project particularly, and I will tackle what Dr. Jill said and Dr. Nermin, and then I will add another point to discuss. My testimony, I volunteered for this Ghata project last year, and I'm continuing volunteering for it. It's to just satisfy the sense of commitment that I feel to my country, serving my siblings here in Lebanon, even if I'm not in Syria, unfortunately. At least I'm trying my best to serve my siblings elsewhere. And this was really, I considered a big success because it made me feel this sense of satisfaction. And I'm very grateful to the center for this. Regarding what Dr. Jill has said, I'm really also astonished, and I'm really glad that you raised a very important issue we face in political studies department, that community service and volunteerism have a stereotype that it rolls around politics, which is not. And a lot of people here in our Arab world link volunteering into certain situations to politics. Like, for example, the refugees here in Lebanon, when we ask people to volunteer for this project, they say, no, we don't want to be involved into political situations, and which is not at all a political situation, it's a pure humanitarian one. So I'm very glad you raised this issue, and I have a question. You said that political studies courses are purely political theory. So what is an innovative approach that can be done in order to transform these political studies courses, or the approaches these are being taught to be more around engagement and around community service, like being more than engaging the students? What is an innovative approach that can be proposed to the universities to start this, other than encouraging students to volunteer? And this takes me to the point that Dr. Nermin raised about being part of the reality. And I'm very glad of the design of the course you have proposed. It's a very practical one and a very engaging one, and which is very important now, because I believe that youth engagement in the community is a self-created opportunity. It's not an opportunity that you find or someone finds it to you. And this is what's pleasant about our community service center, that it's just a tool or a path where we find our opportunity. And that's it. And thank you so much for everyone.
Other students in Beirut?
Oh, say that again.
Other students in Beirut, comments, questions?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hello, thank you very much for your comments and very fruitful presentations and inputs. I just want to share, I'm Zilabin Abouli. I come from Algeria. I'm majoring in political studies here. I'm a METI scholar. I just wanted to share comments about what I learned personally from the Civic Engagement Center and from AUB as the general experience. This is my last year here. I learned two things. First, on the intellectual level, AUB has a reputation that it teaches everyone. There isn't in a society, in a region where there is a rejection of the other based on ideological, based on beliefs, based on even skin color sometimes. AUB has it's broke this taboo, and it welcomes everyone. Just like Dr. Fadlukhuri said it, we don't discriminate. And this is one of the most important things I learned, because the rejection of the other in this region led us to wars, to conflict, and to start this, to rebuild this trust between citizens of one country and between the citizens of this region as a whole. It's a very basic step for the future. The second thing with especially with the Center of Civic Engagement, is the fact that they expose students to a wide network, a network that would help them not only in achieving their professional goals, but also in helping their society. And this wide network has been an extremely important aspect of my academic and also my extracurricular life here in Beirut. Most of the internships I got them through the CCECS. Most of the experience, it was through the CCECS. There's this quote, leaders are made, not born, and they believe that the Center for Civic Engagement is playing this role in creating and making leaders in a society where we really lack leaders for a better future. So these were my two comments, and thank you very much.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Nermin Kawagulora. I'm a masterclass foundation scholar, and this is my second year. I'm doing education administration in the social studies master's program. and I'm really happy to be part of this discussion. And one of the things I want to share is about the experience of AUB. Being a student at AUB have contributed to me more than academics. Being engaged into civic activities, something really I find as helpful. For example, they are teaching us as students who are going to be future leaders. And the future they are preparing for us, we don't know it yet. That's why we really need different tools to be able to face the future that we are going to face. I can say that. So one of the experience that I want to share is that here you don't only come here just to learn mathematics or economy or anything, but you have also to take time to reflect on what is going on outside. For example, I got a chance to get a Mastercard scholarship, tuition scholarship. When I got here and then being able to be engaged into civic activity, I have to just stop and think about other students, other people who didn't get the chance to be educated like the way I'm being educated. And thinking about what can I do, having opportunity to think there are refugees out there, they have problems. What can I do? Having this kind of stop and thinking about others more than thinking oh, I'm just studying, everything's good, but also getting opportunity to think about other people and feeling even if my impact is not going to be big, but at least I can start. That's something that I have learned here. Even if I can go I can teach refugees maybe to lead for 1 hour maybe during the weekend, it's sufficient because I'm making impact into one person's life, but also which can also be big when we can do it as many people. So I think this is a very good thing and it will be helpful. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for hosting us today. My name is Josephson. I am Tunisian. I'm here as an PPL scholar. This is my third semester in AUB, and I'm a political science student minoring in international law and civil society. I have been actively engaged in the English teaching program, which is a joint operation between Rutgers NGO and the Center of Civic Engagement here in AUB. And quite frankly, the program has contributed more to my person than I think I have contributed to the other students that I am teaching. The objective is to teach English to Syrian refugees and those who cannot really afford, let's say, to learn English otherwise. The experience is an interaction between teachers and students. As much as we teach them, we actually learn more from them. Last year, during the graduation ceremony for the fall semester, I've had this encounter with students, say over dinner, and they were leading by example spontaneously. In the midst of the dinner in this place, we were eating, and we had Syrian, let's say, people on the streets who were Syrians come up into the restaurant and selling flowers to get by. And what the students did was invite these people in with us, and they made them sit to our table and eat with us. And one of the students said that if they lived through circumstances that changed their lives drastically, they do not want the same fate for the upcoming generations to grow up in these unfortunate circumstances, and therefore it might spark this hatred towards the environment they live in. And it still marks me till now, and I work by it because community service and community work is about treating the rest of the members of that very community as family. And this is what I intend to implement in my future endeavors. So And of course, as tomorrow's leader, like like my scholarship program said, I don't only feel compelled, but I also want to implement that kind of impact around in my community. Thank you.
Yes, please go ahead. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this interesting panel. So I want to share my experience. So I am Mahmoud Qanso, and I'm a Syrian refugee living in Lebanon. And we left our country like 6 years ago because of the war, as you all know. And when I was accepted the Mastercard Foundation scholarship here at AUB, I thought I'm going to be a rebuilder of my country, a rebuilder of my home, my house, my neighborhood at least. So first, when I came to AUB, and I thought that I just want to be a change maker as a rebuilder, and I found and I volunteered with the engagement center in Rutgers school. The first hour that I volunteered with them, the whole idea changed with me. I want to be a rebuilder, I want to be a change maker, but the concept for me changed and expanded. I thought that change making is not only about rebuilding ruins, rebuilding structures, it's about also rebuilding mindsets, rebuilding like a whole generation. That's why I expanded my vision to change my community. So changing is not only about a community in my home country, it's expanded to be a community here in Lebanon. So the refugees community. And then, like Mastercard Foundation has opened the doors for me also to be a change maker, even in the foundation itself. And that's why I was elected last year to be a scholars representative here at AUB. So that's why now I feel so much blessed to be a change maker in 3 communities. AUB communities as a part of Mastercard Foundation. And second, like the refugees community here at Lebanon. And third, my home country community as a civil engineering student. So that's what I want to share. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Shifa Hame. I am Tanzanian and I am a MasterCard scholar at AUB. I'm in my second year and I am doing education as a major. And as a person studying education, I believe that education is an interaction between the school system or the education institution and the society. And I think, and I believe AUB as an institution has managed to embody this interaction, not just through the civic engagement sector, but also by accepting and inviting scholarships into the university. Through these scholarships, AUB has introduced so many diverse cultures and diverse people into the community, which has, in one way or another, maybe we don't see it, but has had an impact on the kind of civic engagement we have. Not just as scholarship students, when we engage with the community, do we learn, but also the community learns from AUB as an institution the value of inclusiveness, removing prejudices, as the professor says, and acceptance of different kinds of people. Because it's not a secret that Lebanon has had some tensions with refugees and migrant workers from African backgrounds, but by introducing students from different backgrounds into the AUB community and bridging the gap between the students and taking them out into the community of AUB and giving them a chance to help the Lebanese community, then the community outside sees that, oh wait, these people are not that different, and they also value and accept and also give importance to our lives, and they want to make an impact not just in their home countries, but also to the community that they live in right now. And I think that is one of the most important things that have come out of this partnership with other institutions. And just one comment, from the first professor when he said that we have to, when we're students, we're given the opportunity to come up with new projects and given funding to implement these projects. First of all, it's very, very important to do research into the community that you want to engage with, to be able to understand them, where they come from, because I think there is less impact when you just go into a society and impose the help that you want to, because it may not be as effective. And this is actually one of the challenges I faced together with my colleagues when we were implementing our projects back at home. Just really understanding the needs of the community will help you shape your project in a way that will have more impact than you imagined. And yeah, that's all I had.
Hello, my name is Alfa Saadawi. I'm doing business here and I'm minoring in international law. I'm from Tunisia. I wanted to tackle student engagement from two different perspectives. First, through the Civic Engagement Center, and I really want to thank all the efforts that all of the team members are putting into widening the network with different organizations, because it's really important to partner with more than one type of organizations to try to meet the different interests of the students, whether you are supporting the cause of domestic workers or anti-racist movements in Lebanon. Then you have the MCC and other organizations that CCECS are partnering with. If you're supporting the cause of refugee crisis in Syria, there are a lot of organizations at MCC. There are a lot of causes of interest that can meet all of the students' different interests. So this is one point. The second one is student engagement through the clubs and societies here in AUB. Here we are, you can find different clubs that can meet your interests again and try to work on causes that you see others are not working on, or you want to give more to the community you're supporting through different activities you're doing. For example, as the African Club, we try to address different issues that we think minorities are facing in Lebanon, be it in the AUB community or outside of AUB communities. Also here, the CCECS are helping us network with different organizations that can as well go with our work. Third thing is that through these different activities, the civic engagement activities in AUB, you get to meet people from outside of your academic and professional background, because in your school you would meet people that might be of interest in your career later on professionally. But here, when I did the English teaching program, at people who are of the same interest as me, people who are more civically engaged than maybe other people I meet in the academic scene. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Roni. I'm Lebanese. I'm studying chemistry and education at the UB.
Lebanese voice.
This is my third year. I'm very happy because of the diversity on this table, first, and thank you so much for the professors and for you for this opportunity. I would like to talk about the diversity. First, I'm a USA scholar, so I came from a public school. We come at AUB from public schools where we were in our communities. We know people like us. So at AUB, we face a problem or a small challenge with diversity, because here we meet people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different races, different ethnicities. So it's a small challenge for us, but it's at the same time a lesson for us, and it benefits us a lot. AUB let us benefit academically and socially because of this diversity. I want to talk about the Center of Civic Engagement and Community Service. Has a big role in helping us facing this problem and in integrating us in our societies and in activities, and volunteering activities. I want to shed the light on the community-based project, community service project that we implement in the USA. This is not easy at all. we have to study our communities like Shafaq said. We have to go very deeply in our communities to see the problems that they face, to tackle a very essential problem and try to solve it. And it has a very complicated process that we have to follow in order to implement our project. This is really a good lesson that we learn to our future job, to our future career. So AUB and USAID help us not only to be academically professional, but also socially professional. I feel now that I have to prepare for social work more than to prepare for my academic work, and this is a very good challenge at AUB. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you so much for hosting this panel and for your efforts from both the States and Lebanon. My name is Allam, and I'm a computer engineering student at AUB. Unlike most participants here, I'm just a regular student, and it's my experience that kind of motivated me to start my initiative. And from it, I'd just like to highlight the importance of CCECS and leveraging the opportunity for us youth to kind of create change. So as one of two girls in a software engineering lab of more than 20 students, I decided to target the gender gap in technology and in engineering. And I decided to start an initiative to solve this issue, but I got very limited support from the community in Lebanon because of these very traditional notions of traditional gender roles for women not going into engineering and such. And it was actually the Center of Civic Engagement and Community Service that gave me unlimited support to launch the initiative on large scale in Lebanon. And now it's actually serving girls from more than 10 countries. So I think it's always important that we try to highlight as much as possible the fact that sometimes youth are able to incite change. And it's very important to have centers, institutionalized centers like the Center of Civic Engagement to kind of allow these youth to organize these initiatives and take them on a large scale. Thank you. Hi, I'm Sami Hawzi, majoring in nutrition. I'm a USAID student, Lebanese. First, I want to add to what Ronnie said. Before we implement our CSP, USAID and the CCECS provide us with many workshops such as project management, proposal writing, entrepreneurship, conflict resolution, and leadership skills, which make doing CSP easier for us and help us understand what we should do in detail and how we should implement this project. Also, being part of the society is very important. Not only we have to be successful in our academic life. Being successful in society is very important. Okay. So, after I graduate, I will work. My first aim is to work with NGO or implement my own NGO to help people change their lifestyle and prevent some diseases such as diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and high blood pressure and such disease. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the students who have shared with us their experience and their thoughts about the current civic engagement programs and AUB students' involvement in these engagement programs. I believe that these experiences have literally changed AUB. It has impacted AUB. It has transformed the way we think about higher learning, and we're very happy to see AUB has been truly a pioneer at this part of the world in this domain. Frankly, I don't know, New York, how much time do we have left?
Malik, go ahead and speak for like 5-6 minutes if you want, and if we could hear from Hala maybe, from the experience of the staff working at the Civic Engagement Center and your comments, and then we'll come back to close up with comments and questions from the audience here.
Okay, thank you, Ram. Anybody else has anything to say? Yes, please. No.
So I just want to add like last comment. So I want to tell you my experience how 1 hour has changed my whole vision. So I was volunteering with Ghata in the car account, and I was like kind of supporting kids in psychological activities, fun activities. And I was like asking a kid and talking and chatting, and I told him, what do you want to be in the future? And he told me like, I just want to go and help my father outside. So I told him, don't you want to go back to Syria? He told me no. I was like, oh my God, there's a Syrian who doesn't want to go back to Syria. I thought all Syrian refugees just want to go back to Syria, want to go back to their homes. So I told him why. He told me, all of my family left Syria. We don't have any home in Syria. And like Syria has not done anything to us. How come can we go back to Syria? And I felt like this is what I should work for. It's not like what I just said, like ruins and this. I felt like this is the thing that I want to rebuild. And this is like the experience that really changed me, changed my vision, my whole process, my plan, my everything. Thank you.
Students are on fire.
So I just have a question. As an institution, I know we work hard to make sure that the students are involved with the community and understanding the community and really helping, using what they learn in class to help the community. But it's not a secret that sometimes communities are hesitant to accepting this help. They feel like these institutions, maybe they want to impose their views and their beliefs on the communities, or they feel like we can't stand for ourselves, or they just some negative feelings towards the kind of work that students might want or the institution might want to give the communities. So what is the institution, or how do we work towards not just encouraging the students, but also educating the community to feel as though that they're doing this not out of bad intentions and really understand the reasoning and the purpose behind community engagement? That's my question.
Okay, thank you. Can I take that, Hannah?
Sure.
Okay, my name is Hada. I'm a staff member at the Center for Civic Engagement. First of all, I want to say thank you for those who came. We had more than 150 students who registered, and unfortunately the space couldn't accommodate to everybody. So we're very happy that you all are here, and your stories have been very, very inspiring. And especially for me personally to hear them, because I don't always get to hear your stories. I mean, we, as the center, we facilitate opportunities for students to engage with our community partners and stakeholders on various levels and through various different diverse networks that we have. So I don't always get the chance to hear firsthand experiences. And today, really, you really gave diverse perspectives and how really transformative these programs are through the center. And so thank you for that. And so sorry, to go back to your question, what exactly was your question?
My question is how do we engage the community and help them understand the value and the importance of the institution helping them, and so they can be able to accept the help that we try to offer?
Have you had like a personal story where that hasn't happened?
there are certain negative feelings towards some projects or engagements may come from an outsider's point of view, and the community might feel a certain way towards the help that they're getting because it's coming from outside. And so I think, so is it, how do we make the community understand or accept the kind of community engagement that we're trying to engage with them?
Okay, so can I open the floor to if any of the students have had personal experiences and how do you overcome that experience? So maybe the way I don't know if I may add to your point, like to convince the communities that we're addressing that none of our assistance or none of our, like whatever we're doing is politicized, it's not serving any external, because she said, she used the word outsider, and it's kind of like, it gives a bad connotation to what we do. So just try to convince, because what we do is not politicized, it's not serving any political agenda. So I think this is just to like put it in simpler words.
Also, regarding your question, I think we should, like, the institution you're working with should probably partner with an NGO, local NGO in Lebanon, or like someone who they are familiar with, because yes, sometimes some communities are very conservative concerning who to trust or like who to interact with. So maybe if like we partner with a local NGO or someone who's from that community, that actually helps a lot. And one of the situations that I've been with, that actually helped us a lot. And even the municipality tried to help us and like work with the people and made it possible.
Okay.
Thank you, Malik and Hala and all the students. That was quite
actually, if I may, I mean, this is a very crucial point. So when the students are out in the field working on the different projects, there are some concerns raised about the acceptance of their project or the implementation of their project in the communities. I would be frankly interested to hear Rabih's point of view on this, because of his long experience working in the field and with the various communities, especially in Lebanon.
Thank you. We'll turn it over to Rabih and we'll get some final comments and questions. We've not had time for the audience here to ask or make comments. We'll try to give a few minutes for that. And before I turn it over to Rabih, I want to ask also, the communities that we're dealing with in Lebanon, or that you're dealing with, are pretty shattered communities, refugees, marginalized urban poor people, neglected rural communities. So from your experience with all of these different kinds of communities, what is your sense of their acceptance of people like us at AUB coming in and saying we want to help, we also want to learn from them, and then we could have comments from our colleagues from Rutgers as well.
Thank you, Malik, Hala, and all the students and Rami. It's definitely a very important question, and like I mentioned in my brief talk, all what we're doing from the volunteering experiences to the internship, workshops, all of this, even the community service learning courses, for me, it's all preparatory phase for the serious other step, which is implementing the community service project. And this is where the students have felt it, we have felt it, the communities have felt it, and we have felt the impact of this community service project. And again, this is where students have to do it all by themselves. So it's like the graduation project, it's like the thesis, their final year project. This is where you feel the commitment, the energy, and this is the life-changing experience. This is where it all happens. And definitely it's something complicated. And AUB is the only place fit to serve in equipping students and graduates for the Middle East for such on such skills. And I always differentiate between civic engagement and civic touch. We're not here to do civic touch. I don't think we can afford that luxury in the Middle East anymore. We are on the axis of crisis. We've been there for decades. Our role is just to not to go out there and do the simplistic, superficial, shallow stuff. We have to engage, and we have to engage fully and seriously. And the only way to do it is that by students to go out there, experience their challenges, and do the successes. As you have heard now, and I'm very happy that I don't know many of the students. I'm extremely happy because that is the way it should be. We've started a process, a methodology of work. The center has been institutionalized. It's already there. If I'm part of it, if I'm not part of it, it will keep on going. You have pushed the boundaries so high, and you will keep on pushing the boundaries. So to go back to your question, for sure the challenges are part of your learning process, but with all the projects, and Malik can confirm that, we have in the scholarship programs between 5 to 10% leeway of some of the projects not to be implemented. We haven't even experienced one project that hasn't been implemented. The students have taken this challenge and have been extremely successful in implementing it. In the first phase, and as Rami has mentioned, we are working with traumatized communities. And all of the, let's say the majority of the people in the Middle East have experienced, they've been traumatized at some instant or are facing anxieties for so many reasons. So when you go in, you will be always perceived as with like, it's something fishy about it. Who are you? Are you for real? Do you really want to support us? And in other instances, they won't take you seriously because you're a university. But then when you show commitment and you start discussing with them and really working hard with them, putting sweat with them, and ending up with implementing, so it becomes a word of the mouth. These people are serious. They have been here. They've done some positive impact. And there is so much room for change. So the first phase is, again, very challenging, but I believe that already the path has been wide open at AUB, but we still have so much more to be done.
Can I ask Jill and Nermin to comment on your experiences with your local communities, many of whom also are immigrant, poor, marginalized, traditionally sort of isolated from the mainstream of power?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say, first of all, I want to thank the students because the world's future is bright for what you're doing. You're wonderful. Thank you. It was so good to hear what you're working on and what you're doing and what you're thinking about. Rutgers University Newark has historically been a place that has been a place of opportunity for first-generation students. It's been a community of new immigrants to the United States especially, and a working-class community. But it's also a deeply racially divided city, and there's deep class inequality and inequality of opportunity. So our courses are one little piece of how the university relates to the community, but part of what the university has done with this new structure and sense of its mission is to we have a new honors program that is a residential program. It's focused around social justice, and the goal is to have more than half of the students in that honors program be from Newark, and that has been successful. And it's so that to make the university actually be a resource for opportunity for students from Newark is one way that the university is trying to build more of a relationship. There's another project that the university is part of called the Newark City of Learning Collaborative. Newark has a very low percentage compared to other cities of adults with a bachelor's degree, with a college degree. And so this is a project that the university is part of the goal is 25 by 25, that is by 2025, that 25% of the adults who are residents of Newark between the ages of 18 and 64 would have a college degree, all right? That number is in the teens right now. And the idea is not to bring in people who have college degrees. The idea is to help people who already live in Newark get college degrees. And so the university is part of that effort. So part of it is building the relationship between the university and the community around a variety of different community-university partnerships. And so, but key to that is listening to what the community wants, right? And I think that's true for your projects as well as it is true for the overall relationship. And so I want to finish by just saying, responding to the first student who asked the question, how do you bridge theory and practice? The organization that I work with talks about the tension between the world as it is and the world as it should be. And having people really think in more detail about what that means in their local community. So in the world as it should be, children do not freeze to death in blizzards because adults make it possible for children to be safe, right? Now, we can't end racism in America, but we can provide more opportunity, right? AUB probably can't end the war in Syria, but you can make it possible for people to have more opportunities and for their lives to be better. So the school project that you were talking about is just such a wonderful project. So we can push the world just a little bit, and that's what we hope to do, is push the world a little bit more towards where it should be. So thank you all for what you're doing to do that.
Thank you. Nermin, comment?
I don't have much to add. Thank you, Jill, for excellent overview of the work that we are doing at Rutgers Newark. I'll just conclude by saying thank you to the students. It was very profound. Your stories, your experiences are incredibly profound. You bring so much energy and so much passion, and that is infectious. It makes us love our jobs more and want to get more. And that's what makes institutions strong in communities. That's what makes communities strong as well. So thank you, and thank you everyone.
Thank you. We'll just take 2-3 minutes. Any comments from the floor here from AUB in New York? I'm sorry we've spent most of the time in Beirut because we thought it was such an amazing opportunity to hear from this wide range of students. If anybody has any comments here?
Well, I was thinking about the vaccine program in Pakistan where people were so mistrustful, you know, and then Rabih just answered that by saying if you get in there and you really work with people and listen to people, then you can make them understand or help. The understanding is mutual between the two parties. Yeah.
Well, there was an experience in the Middle East, which I helped document years ago, when UNICEF did social marketing, they called it, to promote mass vaccination of babies. They found that the key to going into a local community, especially in rural areas, isolated mountain areas in Oman, was the local credible people, whether it was a midwife or a sheikh or a school teacher. There's always one or two people in the community who have a lot of credibility, and if you start with them and they accept you and you listen to them carefully, then it opens up extraordinary opportunities throughout the community. Allison.
I wondered if Rabih and Jill could both just tell us quickly the next step. What has you excited to do tomorrow or next week?
Tomorrow or at Newark Rutgers?
It would be so wonderful if our students could meet you because, as I said, Rutgers University has been a place of opportunity, and so several students talked about diversity. The diversity of our students and their experiences means that what we can do with community engagement is so exciting. And so I think our students are what make me excited about the next steps.
So the question was what?
What are you excited about doing next? What is one of your next steps?
Definitely expanding the mandate and the mission of civic engagement, for sure.
With that, we will bring this to a close. We took more time than planned because of the tech interruption in the middle. As usual, I need to thank a lot of people. Allison, Najib, Justin, Ava, here in New York, Barbara, and then in Beirut, Joseph, Malik, Hala, and Sareen, and many others behind the scenes who helped make this work. And we look forward to the discussion tomorrow at Rutgers Newark, where we will have a lot of local community activists and students and other professors, and we will hear the perspective from their students and community partners like we've heard from Beirut today. And my last comment is, when we started these AUB New York City Beirut briefings, the idea was to exchange thoughts, ideas, experiences, and then explore, are there things we can follow up with? Are there mechanisms that we can explore to have ongoing relationships through students, through faculty, some of it through a digital video, some of it in person, exchange visits. This is a prime area where Rutgers and AUB are really global pioneers in this field. And when I met all three of these people here through my happy life at AUB and my work here, I realized immediately that this is really pioneering stuff. And we need to figure out how we can learn from each other and continue to expand this so that our students and faculties and our communities can all keep benefiting. And we will hopefully keep doing that tomorrow and beyond. So thank you in Beirut, thank you here, and goodbye to everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.